Ladies and gentlemen of the media, welcome to the MTN 8 quarterfinal Orlando Pirates versus SuperSport United. We are joined by the away team Coach Arendse. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Coach, just opening question, your thoughts on the match, please, and thereafter we'll open for questions from the floor.
It was a bit of an emotional one, to be honest, but that's what happens when you play against a top team like Orlando Pirates. You know, and there's a lot of strength in the team, and the mentality is always good from players on both teams. And I thought it was a really good game. I know the scoreline might suggest that we were outplayed, but when you look at the game itself and the different patches of the game and different phases of the game, I thought it was a very evenly matched for most parts. You know, it was a really good game to watch, even from a coaching perspective in the end.
Thank you, Coach. We're now open for questions from the floor. As per norm, we've got a rolling mic. Please identify yourself as well as the media company you represent prior to asking your question. By a show of hands, do we have any questions? What's that? At the back, Mr. Kale.
Coach, good evening.
Good evening.
So your bench is demonstrating. You look cheesed off when the referee failed. Was it a penalty?
It's difficult to say. You know, I think it wasn't so much about the penalty that wasn't given. It was more about the offside third goal. That even from the angle that we were looking at it, it looked like there was clear daylight between the player and an offside call. Very difficult for us. Obviously, we need to watch it again to be 100% clear. But if it wasn't offside, then listen, I'll be the first to apologise to the officials. But I think when a game is played at such a massive pace, you've got to keep up with games because decisions like that become critical for both sides. And of course, you know, this time around, it was one that heavily affected us because we felt that we were still in the game. You know, but it's the nature of the local game, isn't it? You're going to get calls like that. Whether you get it or whether you don't get it or whether it's against or for you. Those things are going to happen. But, you know, we as coaches, we always want people to be right up there with the game, the best that they can be, because we demand the best from our players as well. And so that was the emotion that came through with remonstrating, and unfortunately it led to Gavin's red card.
Coach Arendse from the Times, obviously Pule's debut. He's got a goal against his former club. He looks quite busy. Looks like he still has a lot in the tank. Just you, from a technical team, what did you make of his performance today and what you've seen of him in training and pre-season as well?
Yeah, good question. You know what? He's a player you'd have in your team any day. Any day. He's worked with Gavin and myself before. We know what he's capable of, despite his age, which is still young. We've seen what he can do in pre-season training, and especially in games. We've worked him in different positions around the team. He offered us a more attacking role today, firstly out in wider areas. And then we brought him close to just behind Bradley when Bradley was still on the field. And he gives you that. He gives you that support, and he's got goals in him. You know, my hat's off to him today for being respectful for scoring against his old club, which is the right thing to do. But that's just the nature of Pule, and I think we're going to have a really good season ahead with a player like that.
Coach Dalmania from Soweto, do you mind in front? Yeah. Coach, perhaps take us into the thinking of fielding 5 of your new players in Pirates. No, usually, I don't know, was it for an element of surprise or was it to see the level, what exactly you can get from the players? Perhaps just share with us what went into selecting all 5 of your new signings.
Sure, it wasn't a bold decision at all. It was a decision based on the type of pre-season that they've had. You know, we've managed to play lots of pre-season friendlies, and that's where you see where players are best suited in your starting 11, and the fact that we were able to, of course, we've got Ndlovu who's suspended. He's one of our key players in midfield, and we missed him today. But you know, Poch, Aya, those ones, Pule coming in also, they took the team to another level. These players made the team better today, in our opinion, as a coaching staff. And when you've still got the likes of Ndlovu to come, into the squad. It's going to keep everyone on their toes. I believe they fitted in nicely to what we wanted to do today. They offered us a better pressing game. And when you come up against a team like Pirates, who are comfortable with the ball at their feet, they love to pass the ball around, you need people who can press. And people like Pogenpool and Ayer, those ones proved that they can press today, and they made us better in midfield.
Coach Andre, as someone who's played for Bafana for a long time and played quite a role in the development of Ronzo, being one of Bafana's #1, what do you make of where Ricardo is as a goalkeeper, not just for SuperSport but the national team? And what does he need to do to step up in terms of being that reliable #2? Because the talent is there, but it's not something you consistently see from him.
Yeah, that's another really good question. And I personally had this conversation with Ricardo last season already, that he needs to go to the next level of his game. What is that next level of his game? He needs to push Ronman harder in the national team. He needs to keep more clean sheets in SuperSport United's #1 jersey, and he can do that with better communication. He can do that by making himself a lot more visible vocally on the field, and that it was like day and night compared to last season, and this is the first game of this season, and that's a positive thing for me. He produced a man of the match performance. He conceded 3 goals, but he made 3, possibly 4 top-class saves. He was vocal. I could hear him on the sideline, and he's well on his way. His biggest challenge is to be consistent with it this season. I have no doubt that he will move to that next level of his game.
From Hope Alive Radio.
Hi, bud.
Coach, I know that it's a bit early, but we saw that Bradley got injured in the game. Do you have any news for us on exactly? Because I think that he's one of the guys who it's proving that he's very unfortunate with injuries. Do you have an update to us?
Yeah, groin strain. Nothing too serious, we're hoping. We pulled him off straight away. We'll have it assessed first thing at training, and we'll obviously apply the necessary measures in terms of the seriousness of the injury. But he's a strong character. I've got no worries about him. And of course, we've got a couple of weeks or a few weeks now that we can bring players back from injury, and Bradley's one of them. So we're not too concerned about it at this time. But he's a massive part of the team. So we obviously need to do all we can to bring him back to full fitness before the league starts.
Coach, hard luck on the result. I'm Veli from SABC.
Hi, Veli.
I visited the match officials during the week, and I think. Skip off.
Can we get the other microphone, please?
Okay. Yes. So I was saying, Coach, I visited the match officials, and so they have this initiative. I think Pirates was one of the teams that took it to have an online session and be updated on the amendments on the laws of the game, and you were not counted. Maybe it could be that you had a hectic schedule. Now that you've got this long break that you have, is it something that you consider taking? Because I could see some moments where it could also help you because maybe there's a lot of awareness on some of these amendments.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's always something we're encouraging, because it's very important for, and I learn this on coaching courses all the time. It's very important for coaches to be aware of the laws of the game. It will help us, because when we are remonstrating about certain things in a game and we are not aware of the laws and how they are applied, it could result in cautions, and we want to prevent that. And it's also with due respect to the officials. We need to make an effort to be aware of those changes if and when they arise. So that's something we definitely will do.
Coach, what was the reason for Neo to be sent off? Because I thought he was playing quite well. Was it an injury or anything like that? And what did you make of his performance? And also on Khabe Moral, always comes on, great energy, great best going forward, but doesn't really get to play much. What does he need to do this season to get more minutes in this team?
So with Neo, it was nothing to do with injury or a bad performance. I thought Neo was fantastic tonight, but it's an extension of the preseason that he's had. He's been very, very good. He's growing up quickly, and that was going to be his biggest challenge. So the change was only a formation change. We needed to get wing backs going up a little bit higher because we're chasing the game, and that was the nature of it. Gape Morala will always give you everything he's got in the tank. Wears his heart on his sleeve, you know, and that's the type of player that he is. Whether he's playing, whether he comes on, whether he's substituted, he's a team player, and it's going to be a big challenge for him, I will say, when you've got the midfielders that I mentioned, including the new ones that have come in. It's going to be a big challenge for him. He knows that. He knows that. But I'm not concerned about the game time that Gape Morale will get this season. He's a top player. He's coming through the ranks very, very nicely.
We'll take the final 3 questions. Starting with Karau.
Good evening, Coach. Karau from SuperSport. Coach, I think mine is an extension to my colleague Maskepe, no Rapo as well. You know, are you guys going to be signing a left back, or you guys are, you know, happy with him as well as Baliti? You know, beautiful, beautiful players. I think probably Neo also is one of the most talented footballers with the ball at feet. Yeah. Is he going to be possibly the starter for you guys this season? Thank you.
Yeah. So we're very happy with the progress of those 2 players. Baliti can challenge him for the left back position. Baliti could play in a wing back position. You know, Neo is a very attacking minded left back as well. We've got some work to do on the defensive side on his game, both of them. But he's learning every day. So, you know, we're not in a rush to go and add or replace in that position. You know, we've got to show faith in these players, which we are doing. And as the season goes along, it's very difficult because you don't know injuries, that type of thing. So we're guided by that, but we're very happy with the progress that those 2 have made. And we've got to have an idea of how we want them to play. And what's nice is that they're turning out to be quite versatile players, both of them. And the challenge and the competition has been very, very healthy with those 2, and we would like that to continue.
Joseph from Sports.
Hi,
on the result, Coach. Bule comes in, he scores for you, but where he plays, that's where Chandra used to play. You guys have done something, you know, beautiful for the country. I mean, the likes of Ocon, the likes of Chandra have left the team. I mean, they are youngsters. How do you get it right there, and how much of a miss was it not to have them on such a big match on this day?
Well, if you remember last season, both Ocon and Chandra were big parts of the season. They played lots of games for us. And the strides that they made through the season certainly helped the team a lot. So they would have been missed. They would have been missed. But you know, when you replace them, for example, and it's not a question of, oh, but they're replaced. But I'm saying when you have to have someone replacing them, it's not a bad call when you've got Vincent Pule replacing a Chandra Campbell. I would have that any day, even though Chandra was a big part of us. Chandra had goals in him. Vincent Pule has got goals in him. He's proved it already in the first game of the season. And when you've also added a player like Pogiso Sonoka, there's a lot of experience. So we're very happy with that. Sonoka brings a lot of I personally would say he brings a lot of shoring up in that defence, and he also takes the pressure off Tyson, and that for me is working well so far. So if we can combine those and keep them going, and you've got Ocon under him, all of those ones, you got Bilal Baloy who's come on tonight. Another youngster, you've got them working underneath those ones, pushing for places. It's always healthy for the team.
Final question. Can you take us to the final question? Going once, going twice.
Coach, obviously having lost this game now, it's maybe 6 or even 7 weeks until your next game. Do you restart your pre-season, or how does this work now?
It's a difficult one. And I think all the clubs who are not involved will tell you the same thing. And we were lucky. There were other clubs that are only going to play their first games in that amount of time. So Yeah, I think we've got to manage it well. We need to look at, because it's been a really, really tough, extensive, hard-working pre-season, which has been delayed. So we've got to look at combining the work on the training ground with a few days off here and there just to recharge again. And then we'll look for 1 or 2 friendlies. You've got to keep the team momentum going. And I think that will be the process for all the clubs who are not still involved in the MTN8.